Thanks for joining us for this late edition of ViuTV News. I'm Patrick Falk in Hong Kong. Coming up on tonight's show, congressional source says FBI Director James Comey told lawmakers he wanted more resources for probe into U.S. election meddling by Russia just days before he was dismissed. Alleged rapist dies in custody. Lawmakers are calling for an investigation. And turning a blind eye on factory canteen regulations. The government's come under fire. We begin tonight with the furor in the U.S. over the firing of FBI Director James Comey. A congressional source now says Comey told lawmakers he wanted more resources for the probe into possible collusion between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and Russia just days before he was dismissed.
Nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law.
On Wednesday, protesters gathered outside the White House demanding a special prosecutor examine those alleged links. Democrats also ramped up accusations Comey's removal was intended to undermine the investigation. They've called for an independent probe into Russian meddling, but Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he won't support it.
I honestly think it's really upsetting that McConnell doesn't support the appointment of an independent prosecutor. The GOP really needs to start putting their country over their party in order to reveal the truth to the American people, because we deserve to know if our president was elected due to foreign influence from Russia.
Meantime, Russian President Vladimir Putin says the developments in the U.S. won't have any impact on the relationship between the two countries. Russia's top diplomat is, in fact, in Washington, where he met Trump on Wednesday. Sergei Lavrov called accusations of election meddling fake information, adding there was no proof Moscow had any hand in Trump's victory. Speaking to a reporter during an ice hockey game in Sochi, here's how the Russian president himself reacted.
How will the firing of James Comey affect U.S.-Russia relations?
Как повлияет это на двусторонние отношения?
Увольнение?
Увольнение.
Да никак не повлияет.
There will be no effect.
Ваш вопрос выглядит, вы не сердитесь, пожалуйста, он выглядит смешным для меня.
Your question looks very funny for me. Don't be angry with me.
Мы не имеем к этому никакого отношения.
We have nothing to do with that.
Президент Трамп действует в рамках своей компетенции.
President Trump
Конституции, законы.
is acting in accordance with his competence and in accordance with his law and constitution.
Мы здесь при чем?
And what about us? Why we?
Я вот видите, в хоккей собираюсь играть с любителями.
You see, I'm going to play hockey with the hockey fans.
И вас приглашаю.
And I invite you to do the same.
All right, so turning back to local news now. The man arrested by police yesterday for allegedly raping and robbing a young woman has died during his detention at Sao Ma Ping police station. He's believed to have committed suicide. The 48-year-old was found unconscious in his cell this morning and taken to the United Christian Hospital in Kwun Tong, where he was declared dead. Police say he hung himself with a computer cable. The cells do not come equipped with security cameras. Lawmakers are now calling for a thorough investigation into the incident.
I'm particularly concerned with the other inmates, other detained persons who may be present in the same cell or other cells nearby. And therefore, it's very important to freeze the situation and to take a statement from all those persons who may be nearby.
Meantime, the Ombudsman slammed the government for lax regulation over factory canteens, illegally serving customers from outside factory buildings and posing fire safety risks. The government's internal watchdog says the Lands Department turned a blind eye to canteens that have been operating illegally for as long as 30 years. The Food and Environmental Hygiene Department is also accused of being negligent with the licensing of the canteens, having no constraints on the variety of food they offer.
Over the years, the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department, what we call is the FEHD, and the Lands Department, LANSD, have completely failed to keep up with the times. FEHD continues to issue a large number of factory canteens licenses, ignoring the fact that there has been a marked decrease in the factory worker population. The department's enforcement was close to none.
Well, the office also slammed the housing department for failing to curb the installation of illegal fixtures in public housing units. The ombudsman says investigations into illegal alterations of flats lasted for as long as 3 years, giving the impression offenders could be spared from legal consequences. She added that the department had also overlooked the reinstatement of illegal structures. South Korea President Moon Jae-in has a long list of timely items he vowed to tackle during his campaign. Geopolitical tensions with North Korea and the THAAD missile system are on the top of the agenda. Our correspondent Joseph Kim has more on the new leadership from Seoul.
In his first day as the new president of South Korea, Moon Jae-in went straight to business, fulfilling his duties as commander-in-chief, being briefed on the military situation with the growing tensions with North Korea. But if his cabinet nominations are any indication, it shows that he's committed to engagement with Pyongyang, as he promised on his campaign trail, and completely different from his predecessor, who cut all lines of cooperation with the North. Some are skeptical that these policies could perhaps help North Korea build its nuclear and missile program. But in his first phone conversation with U.S. President Donald Trump, they both agreed to strengthen their alliance and work together to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula, something that he said in his first address as president to the nation, where he vowed to even visit Pyongyang to resolve the conflict. In addition, he said that he would negotiate with China and the U.S. regarding the deployment of the THAAD system, a controversial subject here and something that he vowed to reconsider. But despite all this, Moon Jae-in's administration said that they prioritize job creation amid the growing household debt and youth unemployment.
Joseph Kim there in Seoul. Coming up next, the latest from the world of business. And starting with a look at local stock market action, Hong Kong shares extended gains for a fourth straight session. The Hang Seng Index added just over 0.4% to close at 25,125 points. That's a 21-month high for the benchmark index, coming off an overnight rally on Wall Street thanks to a bump in oil prices. A boost in energy stocks saw China Resources Power holding up 2.7% and CNOOC up by about 1.2%. Uber's facing more resistance, this time in Colombia. More than 2,000 taxi drivers marched in the capital against the ride-sharing mobile phone app. They say Uber causes unfair competition. Drivers marched with signs against the app, which is outlawed in the South American country but continues to function with frequency. They're calling for the government to regulate illegal ride-sharing apps. The world's super rich, they're taking diamond investing to a new level. White diamonds are now being outsparkled by colored ones. Diamond experts say the trend for colored stones gathers strength as the world emerged from the financial crisis. The most popular colored diamond's pink. In April, a huge 59.6 carat pink diamond, the Pink Star, sold for a record $71 million in Hong Kong. And to the big bucks of the music industry now, and Jay-Z's fortunes jumped a healthy 30% last year. The rise gives the artist an estimated net worth of $810 million. The jump in earnings wasn't enough to dethrone Sean Diddy Combs from the top of the Forbes annual list, though. Combs retained his #1 spot in the world's wealthiest hip-hop artists with an estimated net worth of $820 million. Lucrative deals with Ciroc Vodka and his Sean John clothing line are helping to bring in the millions. Meantime, struggling teen retailer Abercrombie & Fitch is working with an investment bank to sniff out takeover interest. Fred Karayama has details.
Abercrombie & Fitch may be up for sale. Sources tell Reuters the ailing teen retailer is working with an investment bank to sniff out takeover interest. What could make it attractive is its low valuation. Its shares have fallen 61% since March of last year, making the retailer worth $862 million. A&F shares rocketed higher Monday on news it's assessing takeover interest. Reuters reporter Lauren Hirsch broke the story.
There has been chatter. I don't want to say the names because we're still working it out with our sources, but there are some pretty logical combinations that could make sense.
The retailer, known for its risque advertising, was once a stock market darling. Teens loved its apparel, sporting its large logo in the 1990s. But heavy branding turns off millennials and sales sank. Abercrombie & Fitch is now trying to turn itself around, betting on its surfwear-inspired brand, Hollister. Same-store sales there have been flat the past 2 years. Nothing to brag about, but it beats the company's overall declining sales.
Currency curbs and capital control has resulted in a slowdown in rich Chinese looking to buy luxury homes on New York's Long Island. Conway Gittins explains why the blame falls on China.
The demand for palatial homes on Long Island's upscale North Shore, the Tony suburbs of New York City, and believed to be the backdrop of the Great Gatsby, taking a hit this spring buying season, not because of policies at home, but from restrictions coming from thousands of miles away. Reuters correspondent Ko Gui-Ching explains why the blame falls on China.
What we're seeing on Long Island is that because of capital controls in China, there are fewer and fewer Chinese who are buying high-end property on Long Island. And by high-end, I mean above 2.5 million or 3 million.
In attempts to stop the Chinese currency from falling, authorities have spent the last 8 months cracking down on large sums of money from leaving the country. The latest? If Chinese buyers use any of their $50,000 yearly allowance in currency exchange to purchase foreign homes and investments, they face harsh fines. All these new rules are changing what and where the affluent Chinese buy. According to realtors, the impact on the luxury end of New York's Long Island, favored by the Chinese for its reputation for good schools, has been quick.
If you had 10 prospective buyers a year ago, today you may only get 2 or 3.
But Chinese buyers are not gone completely. Some realtors say customers are shifting their focus to more moderately priced properties around $1.5 million.
Some impressive homes there. Anyway, time for a break now, but don't go away. We'll be back with more news stories, including how Chile is blazing the trail in Latin America with marijuana-based medicine.